Dudes, what's up? Happy hump day. I missed you on Sunday. I missed you so much. But it's good to be back. How the heck are ya? It has been a rather interesting week on my side. Rather interesting, to say the least. Oh man. Between a barbecue competition and calls and people in the OR doing crazy shit, it's been real interesting. So we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about some of that tonight, because these are the things that I like sharing with y'all. It's just a bunch of weird shit that you'd never hear about, and that, you know, frankly makes you super scared to ever go have surgery. But, you know, that's part of the deal. That is part of it. There's always a risk, right? Oh man, well, in other news, Absolution is going very well on the Path of Exile front. This is looking solid. I haven't really made it deep into in-game yet, but it's clearing yellow maps pretty handily. Looking good on that front, so I can't complain. I have some very basic gear. So in case you're unaware, like, I generally have a little bit of opportunity to, like, sit and at least, like, browse trades at work. I can't really play for hopefully obvious reasons, but, like, if I see something, like, I can kind of have the game open, and if I see something that I can use, I just snipe it the best I can. Because I have, like, you know, frequent periods of, like, 5 minutes off. And so, like, I've managed to pick up some decent gear. I sold, in all the thing, I've forgotten what they call it, like a temple. Sold a temple for, like, 120 chaos, and that's basically financed my entire build so far. I have that 80 chaos. I'm trying something different on the, Atlas tree here. I'm going Harbingers and Breach. Harbinger seems like a huge mistake so far, I gotta be honest. That seems like a big waste of points. But I'll give it an honest go, because it's only, what, 4... I'll have 2 more in there, so 10, 14 points. Yeah, it's only 14 points, but, like, and I'm thinking I'll probably use Breach Scarabs. Let's see how much Breach Scarabs are. By the way. So I'm thinking I'll use the Harbinger, like, Atlas thing, map device, and, then use Breach Scarabs. So, we'll see how that goes. Let's see, so Scarabs, boop, 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 boop. Where are the Breach ones? Are those Breach? I don't even know what a gilded... Maybe I don't know what these actually do first. Before I start pricing them out. Let's see, Breach. Area can contain breaches? Yeah. Wait, so I guess I don't understand what the difference between these is. Is it like all of these have different wording, right? Huh. Maybe there's just, like, more of them? That's really weird. Gilded Breach Scarab. How much is a Gilded Breach Scarab? 3 chaos? Not too bad. Or 4. Probably more realistically 4. We can swing that. I don't know if that's worthwhile either. I've never done Breach, but this build seems like it'd be pretty good for it. So yeah, meanwhile, I'm just kind of cruising through my maps and getting completion. So that's what I'm gonna do. So yeah, I was part of a barbecue competition. Let's see if I can show you. There is evidence of my competitionness. I did terribly, by the way. I did really, really badly. Showing off my meat skills. I have impressive meat skills. You have no idea. Let's see. I'm gonna try to find this and not dox myself any more than I absolutely have to. But yeah, I thought it'd be a good idea to do jerk pork loins, like jerk style, you know, Caribbean. And it seemed like a great plan. Like the sauce was amazing. I made my own sauce. And like it tasted delicious, but man, all that flavor just like disappeared. I don't think I can show this picture without fucking myself up. Or more precisely, fucking my kid up. There we go. There we go. That's me. And the people on my team, or some of the people on my team at least. This guy here won best ribs. This guy here has like won the whole competition for, like his team has won the competition like 5 times or something. I'm sure he was very unhappy to have someone like me half-assing the effort on his team. The criteria to fill are, they had, let's see, 5 categories. So we had cocktails, let's see, cocktails, ribs, chicken, a side dish, and a wild card, which is just like whatever. And I'm surprised they don't have a brisket. I mean, they don't really give you time to cook a brisket, but I figured they'd be like a meat or like a, you know, beef category or something. But yeah, there's 5 different categories, and then they have like the parents, or like some of the parents and some of the faculty just vote on it. It's very casual, you know. I think there's like swag from the school as prizes, you know, nothing super special. It's just everybody basically shows up to fuck around and make meat and talk to each other. It's super casual. But like anything else, there's always a few tryhards in the crowd that, you know, kind of take it a little bit more seriously than they should. But yeah, not a competition without him, exactly. Yeah, exactly right. But yeah, I utterly failed. Like, I wouldn't say that the pork loins were terrible, but somehow they didn't, like, and I even sort of saw that coming, and I decided to stuff them. So, like, I butterflied them down the middle, and stuffed, like, rubbed the outside, and stuffed the like, marinade in the middle of it. So I was like, well, surely they'll have this strong flavor, and I was actually, I was worried that it was going to be way too spicy, because I put 12 habanero peppers in it. I took the seeds out, but, like, it was habaneros, allspice, like, pretty traditional, jerk seasoning, really, like, allspice habaneros, because I couldn't get Scotch bonnets, you know, salt, pepper, like, ginger, cinnamon, cilantro, all the good stuff. And it was like, just tasting it, it was fantastic. It was, you know, nice and spicy, like good amount of spice that wouldn't just like murder most people, but still had a zing, you know. And man, when I cooked it, like most of that flavor just disappeared, and I don't know what the hell happened. I mean, it should have been bomb. And I made a glaze for it out of the drippings from the loins. Like I poured all of the like liquid and stuff that accumulated overnight. Because, you know, it's kind of dehydrates a little bit because there's a ton of salt on it. So all that, it sort of like leaches all that delicious pork juice out. So I rendered that with a bunch of brown sugar and more salt and pepper and I think a little bit of extra thyme. And the glaze was delicious, man. I basted it with the glaze and like, I don't know, it just did not come through. So that pissed me off. What part of the pig is the loin? It's the psoas muscle. That's the tenderloin of any animal. So like filet mignon from a cow, you know, like a steak is psoas muscle. The previous barbecue I showed you looked good. Yeah, I usually like I have yet to smoke anything that I'm like, this is just not good. Like I've kind of like screwed stuff up before. I'm like, this is pretty tough, you know, like I've tried out a turkey. Turkeys are pretty easy to fuck up. So, like, I've done that. I've miscooked a brisket before. Briskets are also actually surprisingly challenging. and like made a brisket, like the flat, like the point is the part that you get burnt ends from, like the really fatty, like delicious and tender part, and the flat is like the big piece of it, and they're both separated by this like huge vein of fat. If you don't know what a brisket looks like, so I've made the flat, like sometimes the end of the flat is like really thin, and I've made that super tough before, which sucks. But the flavor was always good. Like this pork loin was like super dry, which I kind of anticipated because its pork loin is very lean cut for the most part. So I thought that might be a problem, but I'm not sure if I overcooked it or if that was just like bound to happen. Probably a little bit of both. I'd never smoked a pork loin before, so I didn't really know what I was doing. I kind of go into this just like fucking around, which is probably part of why that dude doesn't really like. So I'm projecting this on him, by the way. He at no point did he ever say anything negative to me at all. He was extremely nice. He was a lot of fun to work with, and he's a good dude. Like, I'm just saying, like, because he's kind of like tries to win, and I'm just there screwing around and like having bourbon and beer all day long. So our goals are very different. But yeah, it just did not at all turn out the way I wanted. The fatty part of the brisket is amazing. Hell yeah. Yeah, so I was actually thinking about this, like, every year I've kind of, like, just done something fun. Like, the first year I had no idea it was actually a competition. I had no clue. And I showed up with this big fucking brisket. It was like a 19-pound brisket, which is gigantic. Most of them are like 12, like, that you buy at a store, unless you know, have them butchered specially for you. But, you know, because most people don't really want to cook 20 pounds of meat at one time. You don't really... You can't get rid of that. But, yeah, so I bought this huge-ass brisket, and the guy who was coordinating everything, I was like, hey, man, like, do you mind if I show up and, you know, start smoking at, like, 7 a.m. or something? Because dinner is at 7 p.m. And he's like, well, that's not fair to all the other people. I was like, what do you mean it's not fair to all the other people? I'm feeding everybody. He's like, oh, this is actually a competition that we judge. I was like, what the fuck? I wouldn't have bought a brisket if I'd known I'd only have like 7 hours to frickin' cook it. Bones don't add flavor to meat. They do add sort of gelatinousness, though. And I disagree if the marrow is in the bone. If that's the case, they add a lot of flavor. Ooh, that's actually not bad. Huh. What did... Yeah, bones are like really important part of broth. I mean, there is such a thing as bone broth, for instance. But yeah, so the first year I did a brisket, which turned out, like, surprisingly well. I had to, like, pull out a lot of stops to get that thing to cook in time, but it went all right. I won that category, so can't complain. But then the second year I did, like, an adobo style pork belly, which was awesome. I did not win. I got second place for that. I've forgotten what won, but it was pretty good. It was, like, I've forgotten exactly what it was. It's some sort of, like, pork, like, pot pie with, like, crunchy, onion straws. Like, they fried onion straws on site on the top of it. It was good. So, I do not feel bad about losing to that. But that was just me, like, fucking around. I was like, I want to make a pork belly, so here we go. Let's do it. How did I get the brisket to cook in time? I just stoked the shit out of my fire. Like, I smoked it for like 5 hours, which is not very long. And then I put just a fuckload of coals in and wrapped it. I wrapped it in foil with some vinegar in there. So basically I braised it for like 2 hours and got my smoker as hot as it could possibly go. That's how. But it turned out really well. and I had a bit of a, like, you know, a mop sauce for it, and I just, like, unwrapped it at the end, put the mop sauce on, and let it, like, caramelize on the outside so it had a nice bark. It worked out pretty well, actually. I wouldn't want to do it again, but it did go well. You can't pre-cook the meat. I mean, you can, I guess. I mean, it sort of defeats the purpose, though, of, you know, like, the barbecue competition. That is definitely not in the spirit of the event. I'll say that. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. I don't think I've ever paid attention to that unique. I might do SRS, so into the storage that goes. You've never heard the term mop sauce? That's like the stuff that you put on, like when you check your meat, you like put it on there to, you know, make sure that all your flavor's not going away. Like it helps caramelize the outside of the meat and make it nice and delicious. And now you have heard the term. Your culinary skills are lacking, I guess. I guess so. You gotta eat more barbecue, man. Get on top of it. That is a skill that you don't want to be lacking, believe me. Believe me. Up your barbecue game. It's a good game to up. Yeah, my wife got me my smoker for my birthday, like, God, 8 years ago or something. Maybe longer than that. Yeah, probably more like 10 years ago. And, like, she 100% got it with the intention, because my birthday's right before Thanksgiving. And, she definitely got that for me with the intention that I would smoke her Thanksgiving turkey, which I did, and it turned out okay. That was literally the first thing I had ever smoked. And it was, like, good enough. You know, I was comfortable serving that to my family. But I've definitely figured out ways to make it much better since then. The birthday gift was secretly for her benefit, yes, but it has backfired in spectacular fashion. Because now I, like, am always wanting to have people over and drink bourbon and smoke meat. Which, you know, is also good for her, but... They don't call me become rivals, bitches. Yeah, you know, I actually, like... I think I prefer a roasted turkey, frankly. Like, I don't get me wrong, like, a smoked turkey is good, but it's very easy to dry it out. And I feel like it's kind of a, like, it's sort of a one-note thing. Like, turkey doesn't really absorb flavor very well, and I feel like you've got to kind of be pretty aggressive about, like, tending to it, and that's hard to do when you're smoking it. I mean, maybe I just don't know what I'm doing, which is entirely possible. But I just find it a lot easier to make a flavorful meal if you're, you know, have it in the oven and can, like, tend to it a little more. It's also a lot easier. It doesn't take as long. Smoking a turkey takes, like, fucking 8 hours. It's not ideal. But it's still fun. I really enjoy any of that. It's also a little bit harder because it's cold. You know, it's gets cold as shit in Kansas City in late November. So it's entirely possible that it's like 20 degrees outside and your smoker's gonna sort of struggle to hold temperature. When in doubt, rely on the gravy? Absolutely. I do make a mean gravy. I make a really good gravy. That was one thing my grandma passed on to me for sure. Whoa, that's a lot of unset rings. None of which I will be picking up. Cool. So yeah, I still had a ton of fun, by the way. That competition is awesome. And it's kind of interesting that there's, like, the same people there every year. Like, I've done this for... what? When was my first year doing it? I want to say the first year I did it was, like, 5 years ago? Well, no, it couldn't be that long. This is my kid's 5th year there. So probably 4 years ago then. Because I think they missed a year during, you know, COVID. And I've done it 3 times total. Remove all rivalries. Sure. But yeah, there's like there's 2 groups that win, so it's usually the group that, like, the dude I was with this year versus this other group that always brings like this huge ass smoker, and like a couple of them hunt and are like really, really good cooks. They won this year. And so they kind of like go back and forth, and they're really creative and have some good ideas. Like one dude's their side dish was like a venison roulade with like jalapeno, like smoked jalapenos, Parmesan cheese. What else did they put in there? Like breadcrumbs and stuff, and it was like really tender. I don't know how he smoked venison without getting it, you know, super duper dry, because venison's tough as fuck just to begin with. But yeah, it's fun to, you know, there's a lot of people there who just show up to like dick around, hang out, drink, shoot the shit, be away from their families, basically.
This is grunt work. Look at me.
No, go to jail. But yeah, it's a good time. I was, you know, spent the better part of the day there. Fortunately, my in-laws were in town, so I could kind of abandon my wife and son and baby without too much problem. However, the problem was I was on call Friday and Sunday, so that did not make for the smoothest weekend. I was tired as hell. I'm still kind of recovering, honestly. Ooh, that was spicy. Shit. Yeah, so I have an ability that makes those shards have a potential to drop as like regular currency items, and that hardly ever seems to work. Like, basically never. Ooh, what's that? I don't know what that is. Then I guess we'll find out in a little bit. Alright, so let's talk weirdness, huh? So this has been a rough week in the OR at my hospital. There's been a lot of like weird shit, and like the heart team has been super busy. We usually do like 150 hearts a year, and we've done 5 so far this week, which is, you know, more than one a day, which is a solid, you know, probably 80% above our usual clip. But yeah, a couple of them have not gone super well, including the one that I was in, which is weird because my patient was basically like young and didn't really have any heart history, but she, unfortunately for her, had very blocked off blood vessels. Can you smoke and braise at the same time? Not really. So when I do that, like, so I get the smoking done first because, like, once you cook the meat a certain amount, it doesn't really absorb smoke very efficiently. It kind of like dries out and can't, and I mean dries out from like the standpoint it, like, the water evaporates, so it still can be like juicy because all the fat starts to render, but it doesn't have the water necessary to really like absorb all of the smoke and stuff. So anyway, I will smoke it first and then wrap it and pour a little cider vinegar or some kind of liquid in there. Usually it's cider vinegar. I like how that interacts with smoke a lot. So I'll do that and then just pour a ton of coals. I have a wood smoker, so I just pour a ton of coals in the smoker and heat it up as much as I possibly can. But when you wrap it, obviously the smoke can't really get to it very effectively, so yeah, so you can't do that. Unless there's something that I'm missing. Anyway, Yeah. Duck? I would like to try smoking a duck, actually. That'd probably go really well, because it's got such high fat content. The problem is you can't, like, when you render fat in a smoker, it just gets really rubbery and tough. Or at least when I do it. Maybe there's a way to avoid that, but, like, when I smoke, like, chicken thighs or something, the skin over it is just, like, gross, and you basically have to take it off. Which is fine. But yeah, so my lady, like, was set up to be okay. So the problem with young people who have coronary disease is they don't have time to develop something called collaterals. And collaterals basically are, like, all of the sort of secondary blood vessels that, with time, like, adapt and get bigger. So they dilate to compensate for the fact that, like, the main vessels are getting a shitload of plaque built up in them. And so if you're, like, 85 years old, that's, you know, you've had a lifetime for that to happen. But if you're 50-something years old, or 30 even, that does not happen. Ephemeral bond, huh? I'll sell it for chaos, why not? See if somebody wants that. Get out of there. Or maybe I'll sell it for 2 chaos. So what that means is they don't really have a lot of, like, blood flow reserve. So they don't have, like, places that they can get, like, compensate for those. How do young people get coronary disease? They just have shitty genes. That's how. You just have really, really high cholesterol. I know several people like that, personally. Like one dude who was, I haven't seen him for a long time. He was a friend of one of my wife's, or the husband of one of my wife's coworkers. And he had like 9 stents by the time he was, coronary stents, by the time he was like mid-40s. And oddly enough, one of the perfusionists I work with, also, he has a similar problem. Like, he's a super healthy guy, runs all the time, like, super fit and great shape, but just has shit cholesterol. And he can't do anything about that. That's just genetics. Like, you can take meds and stuff, and that helps, but... yeah. Oh, these are some useful unveils I'm getting here. Oh, that's just 6 on. Okay. But yeah, that's just a truly unfortunate thing, but it does happen. Definitely does happen. But yeah, we had one such lovely lady, and like everything went pretty smoothly, really. Like I think they had some difficulty taking her vein. So the vein that they use is called your saphenous vein. That's the one that, like, it basically runs from like right in front of your ankle, and pretty much everyone has it. That's actually the vein that you use for IVs in kids. Like, if you can't see anything, everyone has a saphenous vein. Well, I say everyone. The overwhelming majority of the population has a saphenous vein in the exact same place. So you can just, like, blindly stick it, and you usually get an IV if you can't see anything. So anyway, they take that and they attach it to your heart. That's the one most frequently used, because everybody's got it. So they had some difficulty getting that for some reason. But, like, as far as the actual heart surgery itself, everything was pretty uneventful. We were, like, I know the perfusionist was having... Oh, the perfusionist is the person who runs the bypass machine. They, like, basically are the patient's heart and lungs during the heart surgery itself. So he was having some difficulty keeping the patient's blood pressure up during bypass, which is relatively unusual. You know, for him to, like, mention something about it, like, hey, I've had difficulty doing this, means that it was a problem. You know, like, that's usually they are pretty easily able to make that problem go away. But in any event, he was doing that, and so when you come off of bypass, that's probably, for anesthesia at least, the most critical part of the surgery. The patient can get really unstable. the fact that they have been on bypass like makes their blood vessels dilate a whole bunch, and so they generally have like a lot of blood pressure instability and bad stuff like that happening. You know, it's also possible that like the coronary grafts aren't good, and you find that out the hard way. So that sort of sucks too. It's possible to keep someone without a heart alive indefinitely on perfusion. That's called ECMO, and it is theoretically possible, but ECMO, as we have it, has a lot of drawbacks, I guess you'd say. Chief among them is the fact that it destroys your blood cells. So after a little while, you'll get anemic, and like your kidneys will shut down because they get clogged with all of the like blood cell fragments. You'll stroke out, all that sort of stuff. So like technically possible, not really a good idea. With under current technology, at some point we'll figure out a way to make that happen. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but somebody will figure that out. But yeah, this lady was kind of like, you know, didn't really come off bypass super smoothly. She was on a whole bunch of medicines to keep her blood pressure up. And you know, that's not like incredibly unusual, but she was on a lot of pressor. They're called pressors. So she was on a lot of drug to, you know, keep her normal basically. But they were just proceeding, you know, everything was okay. Like, I had something called a transesophageal echocardiogram in, or TEE. So I was looking at her heart with the TEE, and it was basically normal. Like, everything was functioning okay, you know, so you're like, okay, you know, whatever, she's just hypotensive, it's fine. We'll treat it and move on with our lives. So they were closing the surgery, and literally as they threw the last stitch to close her skin, which means we were like 5 minutes from leaving the room and taking her to the ICU, she went into VFib. So that was bad, and like her heart, you know, basically failed. She had right heart failure. Like her right ventricle just like blew up like a balloon, and wasn't working right. And you know, so we like did compressions, and they had to like open her back up. They'd already put sternal wires in and all that stuff. Like everything was totally closed, and we were ready to go. And then that happened. And man, we had to fight tooth and nail. How do I remain calm in situations like that? I don't know. It's not really a conscious thing. You just kind of like are ready for it. And you're like, well, I have to fix this now. These are the things we need to do. And fortunately, one of the things that I like about the cardiac room is the surgeon is very involved. Like in most other situations, when somebody like goes south, the surgeon just kind of like takes a step back and is like, okay, anesthesia, go for it. But like in the CT room, the surgeon's kind of like bouncing ideas off of you, and like, you know, it's very team oriented. At least that's my experience. You know, when shit hits the fan, like you guys are working together, rather than them just being like, oh fuck, that's bad. Please help. What the fuck is that? I have no idea what that item is. Oxium. It's a lot of energy shield. Based on 100% of energy shield. Wow, 25% LE damage per power charge? That's kind of cool. Nice. Is that worth anything? Nope. Perfect. This is why term is more up your alley. Yeah, anesthesia is not for everyone, man. That's for sure. But yeah, we so I gave a drug that I have not given in years. It's called methylene blue, and honestly, most people use it as a pigment. Like they use it to so if you give it IV, it turns your pee like blue or green, you know, depending on what color it would normally be. So it adds blue pigment to your pee is what I'm trying to say. And people use it to like make sure that like if you're having like a nephrectomy, like, you know, your kidney's out, or you're having some sort of like ureter surgery or bladder surgery or something, they're making sure that your pee is draining appropriately, right? Because if your pee doesn't turn blue or green or something, then that's a problem, right? It means your ureters are all fucked up. So, like, it's basically used as an indicator, but it can also help with a condition called vasoplegia, which basically means your blood vessels aren't constricting the way that they need to. I don't know how it works in that regard, to be perfectly honest. But it supposedly does. Methylene blue to treat fish, really? For what? That's kind of interesting. I have no idea. Nitric oxide pathway. Okay. So I guess it like inhibits nitric oxide somehow? Okay. Fair enough. I just remember seeing it on Instagram. Somebody on Instagram was posting about their methylene blue fish. That's awesome. If it's on the internet, it must be true. But yeah, so I gave methylene blue not once, but twice. And that lady, like, man, she was a bit of a mystery. I, to be honest, don't know what happened to her. You know, you kind of like circle your wagons and think about like what's going on and try to figure out like what the root cause is in those situations. To, you know, obviously treat that, right? That's the whole point. But man, I don't know. Like, I thought maybe she had a pulmonary embolus, but that didn't fit. I thought maybe she had... So they did... Oh, this is a cool part that I left out. So she had such bad plaquing of her arteries. They did something... So we've watched a carotid endarterectomy on stream before, right? So where they basically cut open your artery and take out the cholesterol, like the chunk of cholesterol that's blocking it. They did a coronary endarterectomy on her, which is super badass in my opinion. And it was like a little tiny wishbone. Like definitely a lot of plaque in there. So I thought that maybe like, so when you do that, you necessarily break free like little pieces of plaque that kind of like go downstream. So I thought maybe she had like, you know, a diffuse heart attack, basically, like little pieces of plaque that from the site that they pulled out, like, you know, went and embolized downstream and, you know, fucked up her right heart, because they did do it. They did do the endarterectomy in her right heart, in her right coronary. So I don't know. Treat ammonia and nitrite poisoning, huh? Okay, fair enough. Your cadaver had a lot of plaque and you'd like to take it out? That sounds amazing. I would. That sounds like a dead guy zit pop. It sounds super satisfying. I would totally do that. But yeah, I thought it might be that. You know, I didn't know. I honestly didn't know. I was just kind of like going through everything. We gave her antibiotics because we were like, I have no clue. Maybe she's septic. Maybe she has like an occult UTI or something. Like, we were just kind of grasping at straws because like her labs didn't really look bad. You know, sometimes if somebody gets like really bad metabolic derangements or something, like their, you know, heart can start fucking up from that. But she was, but we were causing it and treating it, you know, as we went. Because like when you give somebody a ton of medication to constrict their blood vessels, that happens. And so a lot of their like peripheral body parts, so like arms, legs, don't necessarily get the blood flow that they need. And so they start giving off a lot of lactic acid, and you get, you know, you go a little on the acidic side, which is not good in that situation. So like we're correcting that, and you know, like her heart recovered really quickly, which is another sort of weird thing. Like you would expect that anything that's caused by like an acute event wouldn't necessarily go away that fast. And I mean, we're talking like, you know, 10 to 15 minutes. Like her right heart was basically back to baseline. But yeah, we like, and I think she continued to do fairly poorly through the night. I talked to one of the cardiac PAs, and she was like, "Oh yeah, the surgeon was here, like, messing with her basically all night long." I was like, "Fuck, okay." Like, I thought we got her stabilized. All you have to do is drop the base if acidic. I mean, that's what we did. That's what we did. We gave her bicarb IV. We literally dropped the base. And that's what you're supposed to do. Hey! Yeah, man, you could be an anesthesiologist. You're ready to go. Fuck residency, man. You're set. How do you know how much bicarb to give? Labs. Like, you sort of get a gestalt of, you know, through experience of, like, where to start and how much to give. And then, you know, you just check labs. That's sort of how you do it with everything in a crisis mode. You just, like, do what you think needs to be done and recheck. And you just, like, keep doing that. That's the cycle you do. You know, we thought she was really dry. So on the echo, she, like, when your heart, so normal ejection fraction, we call it ejection fraction. That's how much blood your heart squeezes out, like, or the percentage of blood that your heart squeezes out with each beat. Normal is like 55 to 60. She was a little below that. She was like 45 to start with, which is still, yeah, you could probably argue low end of normal. Maybe a little bit depressed. But, like, when she came off the pump, she was, like, 80%. And that means that she's dry. It means she doesn't have the volume in her heart to actually pump out. So we gave her a ton of fluid, which is very unusual, because typically perfusion manages that. They, like, tank them up and make sure they've got enough fluid on board before you come off pump. But she just, like, I think she just dilated, like, her blood vessels dilated so much that she had a lot of more internal volume to fill. This is based on pH and weight and height. Not really weight and height so much, mostly just pH. And what specifically is causing your acidosis. So, like, if you're well, let's talk about how to read ABGs, since you asked. Let me get out of this first. Let's see. I want a stack deck or 10 scours. Probably 10 scours. Cool. I'll defer the stack deck. And that. Nope, I won't. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so, long story short, is when you have... Oh, I gained a level. When you have an arterial blood gas... Here, let's see if there's an easy guide on this. I'm sure there is. American Thoracic Society. Right, so basically, you have to figure out... So, normal pH is like 735 to 745. So you have to figure out is... Oh, so here it is. There you go. What is causing it, right? The whole point is, like, what's my pH and what's making it be that value? APG, baby. Hell yeah. We're learning. So the sort of idiot's guide to this is you can have respiratory, like the things that can cause it are respiratory, metabolic, or mixed. So you can have a normal pH and have like a metabolic alkalosis and a respiratory acidosis, or vice versa, right? Or you can be acidotic due to one of the things or both, or you can be alkalotic due to one of the things or both. And so you just look at all of the values to determine that. And there's a lot of, like, you know, academic wankery that goes into a lot of this, just like everything else. So I won't really go into that because that's sort of hard to talk about, and that's a lot. It's a lot of information, as you can see here. But basically, like, what we worry about primarily is, like, are we ventilating the patient adequately? And for that, you look at their PaCO2 here. So if it's like, say above 40 or something, then you probably need to like increase their minute ventilation, which you do by turning the vent up, basically making them breathe faster and more. How do you fix respiratory alkalosis and acidosis? Well, that's how you fix acidosis, respiratory. And the reverse is true for respiratory alkalosis. You just like, you're hyperventilating them probably, so you just slowed it, like decrease their minute ventilation. Or if they are hyperventilating because of a metabolic issue, like say they are say they're like profoundly ketotic or something, usually they'll be acidotic because of that, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're like their compensatory response overcorrects, and so then you need to fix the fact that they're ketotic. Like you need to give them glucose and insulin basically to put glucose in their cells. So you need to fix their ketosis, and then their respiratory drive will fix itself. That's why critical care medicine is really cool, because you get to figure stuff like that out. Is it fancy, like a fancy brown paper bag method? That is exactly correct. That's exactly right. Yep, that's what you do. Yeah, the reason that works is you rebreathe your CO2, and that causes vasoconstriction in your lungs, and basically increases your venous return, because the blood flow through your lungs isn't quite as good. They perfected it to a science. That's my whole job, dude. That's what I do. I am the brown paper bag man. But yeah, I think all this stuff is super interesting. What a title, yeah. Hey, I don't need titles, I don't need recognition. I am perfectly happy if everybody forgets or doesn't even know that I exist. I consider that a job well done. If nobody remembers their anesthesia. They're like, oh yeah, I don't know, I didn't have any problems. Great. Perfect. So yeah, this is kind of the basics that you need to know. This table right here. So your bicarb, like your serum bicarb, will be low in a metabolic acidosis. In a metabolic alkalosis, it will be high. And respiratory acidosis, we already kind of talked about, right? So then if you have like a mixed situation where like your bicarb is low, but your PaCO2 is high, or excuse me, PaCO2 is also low, then something else is going on. And you need to dig a little bit deeper. Or it's a situation like I mentioned earlier where you're like, one thing is overcorrecting for a problem for some reason, or you know, maybe you've done something to drive that overcorrection. Like, you know, if you see somebody's acidotic and you give them a whole bunch of bicarb, then that's a problem. Then you will have overcorrected their acidosis. Did she survive? She did survive, yeah. But we were only one day out, so that's perhaps a little, you know, it's a little early to celebrate. But yeah, I think stuff like that is super interesting. Like, we threw the freaking kitchen sink at her, man. She had excellent care, if I do say so myself, but she also, like, she left that OR on every fucking drug. like I said, I literally have not used methylene blue since residency, and I've been out 7 years now. Like, nobody in the OR even know the dosage. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm Googling that, because I have no clue what the dosage of that is. So I did. One nice thing about, like, you know, kind of having some staying power and, like, clout is that you can say things like that. Be like, I have absolutely no... Like, the surgeon asked for that, and I was like, I have no clue what the dose of that is, but I will figure it out. Tempestuous steel. I'm gonna keep this. I feel like that could be useful. How do you know if you get the correct dosage from Google? I don't use Google. I use UpToDate. UpToDate has an app on your phone. Or an app for phones, I should say. Which is badass. It's actually, that ends up being really cool. Like, you guys don't give a shit about continuing education because you don't have to do it. You are in continuing education. But once you're out, you get half a credit for each thing that you look up in UpToDate, which adds up really fast. And like continuing education stuff can be potentially pretty expensive and time consuming. So if you're just like looking shit up anyway, you might as well get credit for it. I think it's pretty awesome. You know, not to mention the fact that it's just like a really useful thing to do anyway. Ugh. Yeah, UpToDate's really cool. Like it's not I don't know if you guys use UpToDate. I don't know what the current, you know, best practice thing is. Online sometimes, yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is not useful. Like UpToDate is really hard to get to if you're not subscribed. And it is ludicrously expensive for individuals to subscribe to. Let's see how much it is. Medical professionals. Accept all cookies. I am a professional. I am a physician. Continue. I want to see how much it costs. I've done this before, but 30-day, yeah, it's $60 a month. It is fucking ridiculously expensive. Why do we gatekeep knowledge? That's a fucking fantastic idea, or question. Idea, Jesus, English is hard. Yeah, I don't know why we do that. I mean, probably like anything else, the answer is because we can. Like they can make $60 a month per person off of this, and so they choose to do that instead of allowing everybody easy access to useful current information. Which is real fucked up if you think about it. Like, I would like current information to take care of my patients, but my hospital doesn't pay for that, so sorry, patients. We can't take appropriate care of you with current best practices. That was the case at my hospital for a long time. Actually, they didn't pay for UpToDate. Now they do, which is fortunate. But because I think enough people put pressure on them that, you know, and we're like, hey guys, let's break into the 20th century here and, you know, have an online source of information that we can readily access, like, so we don't have to have shelves full of books that are, you know, basically immediately outdated upon publishing. Like, let's have something that's, you know, accessible at the palm of our hand. You don't have to have a whole bunch of like random ass apps. Can you have your phone in the OR? Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff in the OR that's not sterile, like people, for instance. Yeah, you don't, nobody except like the people working on the sterile field need to maintain sterility. I mean, there's a lot of things in place to like minimize infection risk. For instance, most rooms these days have negative pressure in them, or I think all do actually. All ORs have negative pressure, so they like stuff doesn't get out, if that makes sense. So like all the patient, their shit just stays in, right? And you can feel that, like when you walk in the operating room, you feel like a breeze, and that's you, like, you know, equalizing the pressure. You can say, hey Siri, calculations. Probably. I don't think I've ever done that before, but yes, I guess you could. But yeah, some rooms have what they call laminar flow, which is like unidirectional airflow through it, through air handlers, and that reduces infection risk even further. So they don't even have like the negative pressure. I mean, they still do have negative pressure, but it's like very controlled, you know, through like air filters and shit. And those are the rooms they do like total joints, neurosurgery, stuff like that. Evidently it is extremely expensive, which is why it's not used all the time. I don't know what the price difference is, but enough that hospitals don't really want to incur it if they don't have to. Because like it, you know, superficially it seems like it would make sense to just literally have every single room be a laminar flow room, but I guess it's a lot more expensive to construct them that way. Oh, we already changed. Shit have bought that that map. Damn, I didn't realize that he changed the map supply as soon as you procced a new mission. Interesting. Okay. Now I know. But yeah, there's tons of looking stuff up, and quite frankly, more people than I would care to admit just kind of sit and surf their phones during the surgeries. I mean, because, you know, if you're in a 4-hour belly case where, like, fucking nothing's happening and your patient's just, like, chilling there, it's pretty tough to just stare into space for that long. Watch the same numbers pop up on your monitors over and over and over. Like, shit, in residency, I used to do practice questions and, you know, all sorts of paperwork and shit. Like, especially my senior year when I was applying for jobs, I'd do all that stuff. Study for board tests, you name it. If I was cruising in the OR, I was focused on something else, for sure. There's so much work to do that, like, wasting that amount of essentially, for, you know, kind of like pseudo free time. Like, that's all of that was time that I didn't have to spend studying at home, and whatever works, man. So the next, what's that? You're excited for football? Oh, hell yeah. Me too, man. Dude, you should go to Charlotte. That'd be fun. UNC games are great. UNC was terrible at football when I was there, so it was like super easy to get into the games. Then I'd always just go and like get ragingly drunk and yell for 3 hours and then go do something else. Stumble home. Because the stadium was super nice. Carolina Stadium was really cool. But yeah, I remember like we were super excited when we went to a bowl game. I think like my junior year or something, Carolina went to bowl game, and it was like they tore down the goalposts when we got our 6th win. Like everybody was just like losing their damn minds. COVID spike's not so much fun. Yeah, I mean, fair enough, but I don't know. I feel like COVID mania has kind of waned. You know, it's not like, even if you get it, you're just gonna kind of feel like crap for a little while. Just like flu. One of your friends is in South Carolina. Picture of a storm warning? And some dude swimming in a hotel pool. That's awesome. There's always somebody, right? There's always somebody doing that shit. Like, I'm gonna fucking enjoy South Carolina. I'm here. I mean, that's dedication to your vacation, man. More power to him. That guy is, like, literally going to have a good time come hell or high water. Because the high water is well on its way. But I will tell you this. I recall there are reports of weather being grossly exaggerated here. Like, there was a hurricane that kind of went nearby. So, like, Chapel Hill is, like, 2 to 2.5 hour drive inland. so it's not really close to the coast. But there was a hurricane that passed by the coast, and I got calls from like everybody, not just my parents, that were like, "Oh man, are you okay?" Like they're saying it's storming, like, you know, dogs and cats are living together, mass hysteria sort of thing, like, you know, everybody's going fucking ballistic, like the weather's, you know, it's the apocalypse basically. And I was like, I mean, I guess it's kind of raining hard, you know, it's not really a big deal. You know, like it's a normal rainstorm. I'm not real worried about it. But yeah, they gotta sensationalize, man. Gotta make it sound like it's way worse than it is. Die. There we go. The scholar. Take that quartz flask. All right, so you're gonna like the next one. We're gonna find a video that illustrates what happened to me today. Daily rain there, nothing too bad. Yeah, that was my experience with tropical storms. Is it really like wasn't that really that big of a deal? I feel like if you're not coastal, like directly coastal, it's like, eh. Dude, it's been dry here too, actually. Our last week was, since Saturday, actually. Saturday was the barbecue competition, was the first day that it hadn't been 100 in, like, over a week. And I think we're staring down the barrel of another 100+ week, which is freaking miserable. I do not like it, Sam, I am. Alright. So I'm gonna see if I can find a suitable video for this to show you what happened to me today. Oh, shit. I'm watching. I'm waiting for it. But you guys don't get to see. You don't get to see it yet. This will be worth it, I promise. Man, I'm coming up with some weird ass shit on this. That's you'll be very happy when you see it.
Hey guys, it's Lacey. Welcome.
Hey, you stop talking. Ah, this is not what I want. This is nowhere near graphic enough. Alright, well, I'll tell you what. We're gonna roll with this. Maybe. So this is what I'm watching. I'm looking for the best opportunity to show some, like, so you know when like a zombie bites somebody in the neck and blood just sprays everywhere? That's what happened to me. Wow, that's brutal, dude. That's rough. Yeah, seriously. Super painful. So, there was a dude that, like had neck surgery basically. And so he was a pain in the ass, because he was an unexpected difficult airway. That is never fun. So he had kind of like a thick, short, muscular neck, also sort of a fat neck, and just like was really difficult to get a breathing tube in. So when we were waking him up, we wanted, so my thought was that we wanted to wake it, like, have him be super pissed and, like, basically pull his own tube out. You know, be to the point where he's, like, ready to talk to us as soon as his breathing tube comes out. And so we did that. Like, we got him to that point. But he, and, like, that's a safety thing, right? Because, like, the earlier you pull somebody's breathing tube, the more likely they are to, well, okay, so let's back up a little further than that. So when your brain comes back online from general anesthesia, the first thing that comes back is, like, excitatory responses. So, like, all of your, like, stimulating reflexes and stuff, like your cough, your gag, you know, the urge to just, like, fight and be crazy, those are the first things that come back. So when, like, one of those things is what we call a ringospasm, where your vocal cords just, like, slam shut, and another is bronchospasm, where all of your, like, alveoli in your lungs just, like, suddenly, like, freak out and get inflamed, and they close off and you can't breathe. So we don't like those things. Those are bad. So the more awake that somebody is, the less likely they are to have that happen. Now, with neck surgery, the downside is that when somebody, like, coughs or gags or something, you increase the pressure in their head. So they're more likely to, you know, have, like, a complication of the surgery. Well, that's what happened to this guy. So we had just taken his breathing tube out, which, remember, was very difficult to place. And he coughed and, like, instantly blew a hematoma in his neck. And it, like, squirted blood out, like, through the closed wound. I was like, fuck! And, like, you know, you hold pressure on it immediately. I was like, get the surgeon! And so, like, this guy starts, like, waking up violently. He's, like, thrashing around. You know, we couldn't get him to sit still. And he's a big dude. He's probably, you know, well over 200 pounds and strong. And so I was like, okay, I guess we're going to sleep. And we couldn't mask him well, which is a problem. Like, usually when somebody is a difficult airway, you can at least, like, mask ventilate them, you know, so to, like, wake them up or get yourself out of trouble. This guy, we couldn't. Like, we could mask him, but it was very hard, and it was not something that we could rely on to, like, hard enough that we couldn't rely on it to, like, save him. So he's just, like, thrashing around, and we just, like, have no choice. Like, you know, his neck is, like, swelling up. You know, he's flopping around in the bed. Like, we were worried he's gonna lose his IV because he was moving around so much, and if that had happened, we would have been real screwed. So basically we just put him back to sleep. Do you ever have to put restraints on for things like that? Yeah, for sure, but not routinely. Like, because there's lots and lots and lots of evidence that actually shows if you restrain patients, their delirium is worse, basically. Like, they freak out. You know, they try to, like, rub their nose or whatever, and then they can't, and they're like, ah. Like, especially with older patients or, like, PTSD patients, that's a really bad thing to do. So we don't do that as a matter of course. But yes, you can do that. You know, if you like know for a fact, like, the patient's like, hey, I'm gonna, like, start swinging. I've done it every time. You probably should restrain me, which I have had happen before. Like, the patient's like, hey, I'm gonna, like, attack somebody. So, like, you know, I think it's best. Like, the patient actually said, like, I think or something to the effect of, like, I think it's best if you restrain me, which, again, I try not to do because it worsens delirium. But, you know, sometimes you just have no choice. Do I have to ever fight patients? No, I do not fight patients. I put patients down if that's the case. I've had to ketamine dart people before, though. Several times. just walk up to him and put a shitload of ketamine in their shoulder. Yep, that happens. But yeah, he was flopping around like, you know, he's desatting, he bronchospasmed. You know, we knew it was going to be an airway problem, so I was like, fuck. So we put him back to sleep. We got a device called an LMA, which is sort of like a mask that goes in your mouth, if you can picture that. Laryngeal mask airway. That looks suspiciously like a vagina. That's not what most of them look like. They're clear plastic most of the time. Much more like the one in the middle here. I do give him the quick trank. I've never had to just straight up paralyze somebody. I don't think. Like, because you can give paralytic intramuscularly. I've never seen a vagina. Well, that's sort of disturbingly close for something that goes in your mouth. And you're about to see a whole lot. Welcome to medicine. Let's see. What's better? Well, that's the idea. That's what it looks like. So it's kind of like halfway between a face mask and a breathing tube. And it is, in fact, a very good rescue device. Like, we use this for a lot of, like, smaller surgeries where you don't necessarily need, like, your airway fully protected. Because this is pretty good. This is what it looks like when it's in place. Can you see that? No, that didn't really help. So it sits, like, right here and kind of caps off your esophagus. So it helps, like, prevent aspiration this way, and then like lets you breathe through your trachea here. But this isn't anywhere near as secure as the balloon on a endotracheal tube. So like you can get shit like leaking past here. So for, you know, big like patients with really bad heartburn who reflux a lot, or like who are really obese, or having really long surgeries, or like any combination of those things, they are much higher risk for aspiration with an LMA, so I wouldn't use one. And if, you know, you have any concerns, and just place a breathing tube. But anyway, that's what those are used for. They're also very, you know, nice rescue methods for people who are difficult airways, like this dude. So basically, we like got him relaxed enough, like, you know, induced his anesthesia again, put one of these in, and like I took like basically in the middle of all this, like the surgeon came in and wanted to see what was going on, and I kind of like let pressure up, and I just got drenched. Like, it was crazy shit. This blood like sprayed out of his neck wound, like all over me, like totally covered my arm and like my left side of my scrubs. Do they use ketamine in psych wards? I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure what they use. I mean, they do use ketamine in psych wards for therapeutic purposes, like for depression or, you know, things like that. But as far as like an emergency drug, I don't know. I'm not sure what they use. Talk about a bloodbath. Yeah, I was soaked because like I had already taken my gloves off because I thought this guy was gonna wake up fine, and then he like strained and coughed really big and just like blasted his wound open. On the inside, like the sutures and stuff held, but on the inside he was like bleeding real bad, and it was like spraying blood out. So I was like, well, I guess we're gonna do that one again. It was nuts. So yeah, my hands were totally covered in blood, and then in the second round when he just like geysered it all out, that was fucking ridiculous. But then we opened his wound back up and it wasn't bleeding at all. However, we had been holding like firm pressure on it for like 15 minutes at that point, because they had to, like, they'd totally broken the surgery down. Nothing was sterile. Like, they had to get all new equipment, which is, so 15 minutes is actually really fast. Like, they basically turned over the entire room, including waking up the patient, in 15 minutes. That is very quick. Do not have to worry about blood getting on you? Oh yeah, you absolutely do. Yeah, I went and surgically scrubbed. After that, I changed scrubs and, like, you know, washed my hands and arms, like, really good. Twice, actually. Washed my hands twice. But yeah, you definitely have to worry about bloodborne diseases. Like, I think this guy in particular is very low risk, but, like, I have no reason to believe he had anything bloodborne, but I'm not really willing to take that chance. What stuff do you have to worry about if blood gets on you? Primarily, like, Hep C and HIV. Those are the big ones. You know, I mean, the risk is like, you know, you just have some, like, just from blood being on you, you can't get any infections that I'm aware of. But, you know, if you go, like, eat lunch, you know, that sort of thing, like, or somehow get cut later in the day, I don't know, just, like, rub your eye, weird shit happens. So it's definitely not something you want to, like, be spreading around if at all possible. I'm trying not to. They don't screen patients. No, not routinely. Usually those sorts of things the patients know about, and they self-disclose. And everybody, you know, there's like a little powwow, generally. Like, everybody communicates that pretty aggressively when there's some sort of, like, bloodborne disease. There's a part of the consent, too, where they specifically say, like, hey, if we get contaminated with your blood, you need to give consent for us to test you and us. You know, us being whoever gets, you know, a needle stick or whatever, for bloodborne diseases. So basically everybody has to consent, at least consent to that beforehand. I mean, it's a conditional consent, but still. But yeah, those things, as far as I'm aware, are not routinely just screened for. Sounds scary, I guess. I mean, it's just part of the risk, dude. Playing around in people's body fluids all day long, like, shit happens. Just wash your hands. Just be clean. You know. It's whatever. I think I mean, like, if you think about it, the risk of actually getting HIV if you have sex with somebody, like, unprotected sex with somebody who has HIV is like 3%. Or no, that's actually lower. The risk of getting HIV, the number I'm thinking of, is the risk of getting HIV with a hollow bore needle, like contaminated needle. So if, like, you inject something in somebody with HIV with a hollow bore needle and then inject yourself, the risk of getting HIV is like 3%. So it's not a very hardy virus at all. Like, your immune system will kill it. And that's like the, you know, highest percentage inoculation you can have. The most direct way to do it. Yeah, sometimes it's in literal shit. Yep. Yes, it is. I avoid that for the most part, though. I stay at the head. Thank God. I would never, ever tolerate that, man. No, thank you. I don't want to be playing in the poo. Ooh, Divine Orb. Thank you very much, game. That was pretty sexy. That was nice. That's literally twice as much currency as I have total in one drop. But yeah, you just kind of have to be smart. You know, wear gloves, wash your hands, that sort of thing. Be cognizant of, like, the contaminants that you've come in contact with. I mean, I would assume that the, you know, proportion of, like, healthcare workers who get those sorts of bloodborne diseases are higher, I guess, than the general population. just by virtue of being exposed to them more frequently. But still, like, those patients are few and far between. Like, I don't even remember the last time I saw somebody with Hep C, to be honest. And HIV is maybe once every 2 months or something. You wanting to go into GI, yeah. Wear goggles, dude. Wear splash guards. Straight into rearranging guts. That's what he does best, man. For work and for pleasure. I mean, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right? Oh, I cracked myself up. Holy shit. Poison duration, huh? Yeah, I don't need that. Yeah, I mean, again, it's just sort of a calculated risk. You understand that that comes with the territory. Like, you know, sometimes somebody fucking zombie necks on you. Like, explode out their surgical site. Guess I'm gonna hold on to that. Yeah, I have a weird job. Which is part of why I like streaming, because I don't think anybody really understands what anesthesia does, you know? But yep, sometimes I'm the one standing there holding pressure on your patient's neck while you run in to fix whatever the hell you need to fix. See. Man. Do you have anything I need? Ah, yes, several things. Mad props for doing what I do. Oh, I don't need props, but thank you. I just like it. I really like my job, honestly. I mean, I would, like, if I had the money, we've talked about this before, if I had the money to quit, I would quit in an instant. I still work to live, but I do like what I do, for sure. No doubt.
Got my eye on you.
Let's see here. Players cannot regenerate. That's gonna be a negative, Ghost Rider. Yeah, that'll work. Sure. Sure. Do I watch Dr. K content? Not really. I have historically. I've watched a few things that he did. I watched a lot of stuff surrounding the, like, Rekful's suicide. And it sounds like he really did a lot of bad stuff around that. Use some Indian medicine that isn't proven effective, and the dude ended up killing himself. Oh, yeah, that's probably Rekful. Actually. Warren, what's up, man? Welcome. My doctor was confused when you were getting a thrombosed hemorrhoid removed, and you told him you were resistant to lidocaine. He turned and said, but you're not a ginger. Well, congratulations on having a soul, at least. That's good. That's one leg up. Yeah, some people are resistant to various types of anesthesia for one reason or another. It happens. It happens. And actually, the redheads thing is true. I think there was a decent-sized study that indicated that people with red hair have, like, something like a 20% greater anesthetic need than the general population, which is crazy. That's a huge amount. But yeah, if you need more local, get more local. Nothing wrong with that. There's plenty more where that came from. Yeah, gingers are indeed more likely to be resistant to anesthesia. They have a mutation in their I think it's melanocortin 1 gene, if I remember that right. The first non-ginger that was resistant to it? Huh. Oh no, I've seen. I mean, there are so few people with red hair that, like, you'll run into that fairly often. It happens. Ooh, maps. Sexy. But yeah, at least you know that, though. Like, a lot of people, you know, unfortunately, like, issues with anesthetics, people find out the hard way, because there's not really any other way to know. Unless you've got a family member who's had, like, some sort of serious problem.
Not a red blade, not my problem.
Go to jail,
You'd have been
bitch.
better off.
There you go. But yeah, there's so the one that we look out for is called malignant hyperthermia, which is a defect in your ryanodine receptors in your muscles that basically make your muscles contract out of control when you get certain drugs. Specifically, a paralytic called succinylcholine or any of our inhaled anesthetics. So that causes lots of problems, but it's also, like, strongly hereditary. So if you have anybody in your family who has that, then there's, like, a test you can do. Like, it's I don't know if it's a dominant mutation or not. Now that I'm thinking about it. But basically, if somebody in your family has had MH, we treat you as though you will have it as well. Because it's just, like, way too dangerous and too easy to avoid. Like, if we know how to plan for it. But yeah, if you're resistant to local anesthesia, then probably somebody else in your family will be as well. So they should look out for that. But it's always nice to tell people, like, you know, hey, this is the case for me. And, like, anesthesiologists will take you seriously. Now, if you said, I'm allergic to local anesthesia, then they'd be like, yeah, that doesn't really happen. But if you're like, I need a lot of it. Can you die from experiencing too much pain? I don't think so. You almost punched the doctor who did your vasectomy. Informed her before, she said okay, still applied the regular dosing. Woo! And then did it again on the other side. Oh, sorry, man. That sucks. That is the suck. Yeah, I kind of know what that feels like, because I had an incomplete, like, I was great on one side, and I sort of had an incomplete block on the second side, and got my right nut tased when they were doing electrocautery. So, I wouldn't say it, like, really hurt, but it's not a pleasant sensation. It's just like an ultra funny bone feeling. Rip the nut, absolutely. Poor Righty, man. He had a good run. He had a real good run. Then I just suddenly decided to shock the fuck out of him for some reason. He did nothing wrong. He was just minding his own business, being nice and warm. And then just gets the rudest of awakenings possible. You didn't get cautery? I thought that was just kind of like how it goes. I guess I just assumed that. That's N equals 1. I have not experienced a whole lot of vasectomies, so... I mean, I guess occasionally people come to the OR for those, but man, you don't want to do that, because rest assured that everybody around you is making a lot of fun of you for having to get general anesthesia for an office procedure. You were the butt of many jokes. Apparently didn't bleed much. Maybe I'm a bleeder. I don't know. I got bloody balls. How does one reverse a vasectomy? You go in and, like, reattach the tubes that they cut a chunk out of. Like, you just reapproximate the ends of the tubes. It's actually a really long surgery. It's like a 4-hour surgery. So, would not recommend that. The opposite of balls of steel, balls of blood. Yeah, it's a very, like, painstaking sort of surgery that takes a long ass time. Yeah, definitely do not get a tubal ligation or excuse me, a salpingectomy. They don't do tubal ligations anymore. Yeah, don't get a sterility surgery if you don't really want it, because they are super hard to get rid of. It is a big deal to undo those. 10 minutes to get it, 4 to reverse it, exactly. Yep. Yeah, and quite a lot more discomfort, I might add. Like, my vasectomy didn't hurt at all, dude. Like, I took it really easy, and there were some times where I kind of, like, moved weird, and I was like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't do that. That was not fun. But in terms of just, like, sitting around, like, no big deal. Not a big deal at all. You can reattach tubes, can't fathom it. I mean, that's what vascular surgery does a lot of time. Vascular surgery would be way cooler if you didn't have the, like, a very difficult patient population to work with. Basically, like, people who need vascular surgery that isn't, like, a traumatic thing, you know, because obviously you can, like, slice open an artery or some shit and need it fixed, but, like, most people who need vascular surgery have just, like, neglected themselves into oblivion, and they just don't give a fuck, basically. And that's would be very difficult for me to wake up to every day, you know? Like, part of my enjoyment in my job is that people are generally pretty grateful for the service I provide. They're like, fuck yeah, I don't want to get my gallbladder taken out without anesthesia. You know, they're you know, maybe not super happy that, you know, they have to see me, but at least they're like, yeah, you know, that's pretty cool. But, you know, with the vascular surgery, you're going to go in there and, you know, spend hours taking care of this person, and they're just like, whatever, I'm going to keep not taking care of my diabetes. Oh, smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day is really bad for my leg veins? Yeah, I'm going to keep doing that. Okay. Cool, bro. Your after effects were awful? Really? What happened, dare I ask? I mean, I can imagine. But just like lots of pain or what? Yeah, I mean, for me, I was like, I would say mildly sore at worst. Like, I just basically just popped Tylenol whenever I thought about it, and that was it. Not a big deal. Pain in left testy for months? Ah, that sucks, dude. Sorry to hear that. Damn, that's rough, bro. That's real rough. Man, I wonder what caused that. I wonder if you had some sort of, like, vascular entrapment or something that was, like, you know, making it not get, like, making your ball not get blood flow the right way. Ooh, Fizz is extra. Ooh, cool. That might be good for my next build. Double damage troll focus, yes please. That was also the side you almost passed out from. God, man, that's a rough experience. Well, I'm sorry that that happened to you. I think you're... Fortunately, I think your experience is very atypical, but... Things like that are very interesting to me, though, because, like, why is somebody so different than other people, right? That's what it makes me think of. Like, what went wrong? What changed for you that made your vasectomy so much worse than it is for most? And for a long time, too. 5 months is a long-ass time. That seems good. Not great, but good. Oh. That's... yeah, put it up for 20C and see what happens. Hey, thanks for the follow, man. Appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the talk. Because your life is only bad luck. So you're just like... What is the, Murphy's Law? You're just like a walking Murphy's Law. That does seem to happen to some people. For whatever reason. Perks of being yay Allah, hell yeah. Yeah, if you knocked somebody up, I would have way more questions than just, like, how it happened. That would be very confusing. Alright, let's go kill some bosses. Again. Let's go. Yeah, that's one of those things that, like, you know, your terrible experience notwithstanding, I am very confused why so many men, like, I know lots of people who are like, dude, I couldn't do that. I could never go get a vasectomy. Like, I'm so scared of it. I'm like, it's really not that bad. Not that bad. But I mean, the alternative is like making your wife have a general anesthetic for a tubal, and that's not super appealing either, right? Like, general anesthesia is kind of a fucked up thing to just, like, randomly have. You do not want to do that if you can avoid it, says the anesthesiologist. 10 minutes and some pain, or 18 years of child support. Yep. And probably some pain there, too. Probably a fair amount of pain. Do we ever do gas for knee replacements? Yeah. So, recovery is actually very fast. These days, most people, I would say, are out of the hospital the next day. There are, in fact, even some outpatient knee replacements. So if you're, like, really healthy, and you've, like, worn your knees out running or something, you know, you can potentially go get an outpatient knee replacement. That is probably still in the minority, as far as I'm aware. Most people just frankly aren't healthy enough to do that. But the recovery generally is still pretty good. I would say surgical pain for some people is, like, a lot of people comment that their surgical pain is not as bad as their day-to-day pain. So, I mean, like, a big proportion. I would say a third of people say that. But, yes, gas, like, anesthetic choice is a function of surgeon proficiency, basically. So, if your surgeon cannot get the surgery done in, like, 2 hours or less reliably, then you can't really do a spinal very easily. Because a spinal will last you, like, 2.5 to 3 hours if you use bupivacaine, which is, the like, basically the bog standard. That's, like, what comes in a spinal kit. And I don't know, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that, like, is in common use that lasts longer than bupivacaine. There are things that last shorter, certainly, but not longer. But yeah, if you don't have a surgeon that's fast enough to do that, then that's a no-go. So then you gotta do general. That is the case at my hospital. Is it true you walk the day of? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everybody gets up and walks the day of. Barring some, like, weird situation or, like, emergency or something. Yeah, the sooner you're mobile, the better off you are. They have outpatient spine recovery? Yeah, so most of the time... So I am not at all an expert on outpatient, outpatient, like, spine recovery, like for back surgery, or spinal? Spinal is the block, like, that you get for... So there are some outpatient spine surgeries for sure, like laser microdiscs and stuff. And so for those, yeah, you would have outpatient rehab. But yeah, for basically any surgery, there's outpatient rehab. It's just a matter of if you have to stay in the hospital first before getting to that. Which for most back surgeries you would. But yeah, if you're just having like a laser discectomy or something, then you would probably go home the same day. Assuming you're healthy otherwise. Trying to get your mom to see an ortho for a torn meniscus and she's worried about recovery. Well, a torn meniscus, I mean, you know, barring other issues, torn meniscus is probably an hour surgery to fix. So she wouldn't necessarily need to do, you know, much of anything for that. Like, she would have rehab for sure, but it'd probably be mostly self-directed. Pars defect, 3 bulging discs, and a desiccation. I don't know what a desiccation of a disc is, but that does not sound like if you've got a, you know, a 3-level back surgery isn't going to be an outpatient thing for sure. You'll be in the hospital for a couple days. But that's pretty standard. Like I said, that's nothing like unusual. One of your friends had an ACL and had a cadaver replacement. Yeah, that's pretty common. I think most of the time they try to like harvest from your hip or something, like your hip labrum. I don't know if that's you know, like dependent on your injury or what. I don't know much about the details of orthopedic surgery on that level. Like as to why you would choose a cadaver in some situations but not in others. I do like to ask about stuff like that though. Like why they choose like different materials for, you know, joint replacements and, you know, that. Like why would you use a cadaver and this guy but a autograft and somebody else? I think that's cool. That's sort of me just like wanting to know everything. Just want to know how everything works. Mitch McConnell is a living cadaver. Yeah, apparently he froze again. Like he froze during another press conference. I think that dude's having like TIAs, man. He's having mini strokes. That's sure as shit what it looks like. I haven't seen the newest, like the most current video, but he is definitely not a healthy dude. I mean, can we get somebody who's not 5,000 years old in Congress, please? I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. Just like have a frickin' pulse that doesn't require a machine to generate. Cadaver was stronger and had less chance of a second tear. Interesting. Huh. Wonder why that is. Best I can do is 49.99 years old. I'll take it. You know what? We'll shave a year off. That's fine. It's baby steps. Baby steps. Someone that can like actually make it through a voting session awake. And understand what's going on. Doesn't need to be reminded to turn the stove off. Someone who can walk upstairs. Yeah, these things seem like pretty minimal requirements, right? But what do I know? What do I know? Ooh, Arcanus Strongbox. Give me good shit, please. Give me good shit. That doesn't really qualify. That was pretty useless, actually. Speaking of useless, this breach is terrible. It's gonna spawn a bunch of monsters on the other side of that wall. That's some bullshit. So I guess I'll just go kill all I can over here. Wow, that's really fast. Yeah, I'm also very, speaking of, like, being interested in different ways of doing things, since we were talking about spine surgery, there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat, like, whether you just pull a disc out, or you do something called a laminotomy, where you kind of, like, ream out the area where, like, the nerves go through to, like, give them more space, or you do a fusion, which is where you basically like bolt together different vertebrae, which is something that you should really never ever have done, by the way, if you could avoid it. But like why you choose those different things, you know, beyond like some injury or something that requires like a fusion. I'd be interested to have a discussion about that. These are all things that I just like randomly ask surgeons and like really bother them with. Like, hey man, so teach me your residency in like 5 minutes before I lose interest. And go. And you have to explain it to me like I'm 5 because I have absolutely no idea what the fuck I'm asking you. So keep that in mind. How do they know whether to go through ortho or neuro for spine? That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know how those decisions are made. I mean, I imagine you'd go through neurosurgery if you're more interested in, you know, like all the other stuff that neuro offers. And vice versa. Like, so I will say that in my admittedly pretty limited experience, like, you know, I haven't been to a whole lot of hospitals that do back surgeries. Like, what, 4 or 5? I find that the neurosurgeons are less likely to, or excuse me, the orthopods are less likely to use hardware, oddly enough. That seems like that would not be the case. But the orthopods that I've worked with are more likely to just, like, take a disc out, instead of doing a fusion. I don't know why that is. It's probably, you know, just, you know, small sample size, so it means nothing, but I don't know if that's a training thing or what. Here's just 10 years of being in the Navy and the big guy, so you're always moving heavy shit. Yeah, it gets to you eventually, doesn't it? Yeah, it sucked. Getting old is bullshit, by the way. All these, like, things that you thought were super cool when you were younger, now you're like, oh, yeah, that was actually pretty bad for me. Fuck. Okay. What are the pros and cons of neuro? Well, the main con is that you work like a damn slave for 7 years. Like, you can realistically expect 100-hour weeks for your entire residency. And it's 7 years. So super research heavy, very difficult, very long hours. Extremely competitive to get into. You know, you're dealing with some pretty tough personalities most of the time. Those are all pretty damn big quality of life problems, if you ask me. But, you know, you do come out, like, realistically starting at, like, 7 figures, so that's, you know, that's a good payoff, but your hours still suck. You know, you're gonna constantly be on call, because, like, how many neurosurgeons are there, right? Like, your hospital's not gonna, like, my hospital, you're only 32, and it's, dude, I'm telling you, that's when it begins. The 30s, it's all downhill, man. I'm only 38. Not that old. But yeah, our hospital has 2 neurosurgeons, so they're on call every other day. And it's like a medium-sized hospital, I would say. That's such a shitty thing to do, man. Being on call that much would just be terrible. Even if you don't do anything, you can't go anywhere. You can't drink. You know, like, you can't really make plans reliably. Fuck that. Sounds awful. Everyone talks about proper form. I'm just moving a 160-pound power supply with 75% incline. Yeah, yeah, that's not really possible. Not possible to do properly, I don't think. Ooh, metamorph, huh? Offering. What's this? Rare armor. Oh, currency though. Yeah, I'll take currency instead. Currency shards. Sure. Lots of currency. Dude, they're freaking making it rain. What's that? That gives me an organ. I don't really want rare armor. Do I think that people matching to peds, family, and psych get through a neuro residency, a neurosurgery residency? I mean, probably. Like, it's really, like, not that much different. I mean, neurosurgery is like a class of its own, though. So, I don't know, maybe not, but it's, yeah, neurosurgery residency is crazy. I would not want to go through that. Like, I could make it through that, but it sounds fucking terrible. They just get beat to death for 7 years. 75 degree, not percentage. Oh, okay. I was gonna say a 75% grade is a lot. It's like it gets straight up real fast. No, derm residency is awesome. Let me tell you a story about derm residency. I think I'm pretty sure I've told this. I can't imagine that I haven't told this on stream yet, but it's a good one nonetheless. So if anybody has heard this, just play along. Good gosh darn, what's up, man? How's your new job? How's life? But yeah, so good story about derm residency. So we had a big like pan residency meeting. You know, all the residencies get in the auditorium and we're like talking about random issues. I'm not really sure why this was a necessary thing. But somebody from derm was like, you know, like parking at our hospital was just absolutely atrocious. I walked, so I drove like 7 minutes to work and walked like over 10. I parked like a mile away from where I worked. So the derm resident was like, oh shit, that's not what I want to do. They were like, yeah, you know, like we need better parking. It's ridiculous. Like when we get here, we can never park. And he's like, you know, getting everybody on board. Everybody's like, yeah, parking sucks. It's bullshit. And then he was like, you know, when we get here at like 8 to 8:30, there is just nowhere. There is nowhere in the resident lot. There's nowhere that we can park. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, see, we've already been at work for 3 hours at that point, so you can kind of blow us. I don't care. I don't care what you're saying. Yeah, Gucci, you here too? Damn. Yeah, just like instantly lost the crowd. We're all like, oh yeah, you guys, you all suck. Fuck you guys. At your 8 o'clock start with no emergencies and no weekends. Yeah, like you could hear the crowd just go, oh. Like, you know, and to be like mad about it too. They're like genuinely pissed off that they can't find anywhere to park at 8:30. We're all like, shit, dude. You just have no idea. So yeah, derm residency, not so bad. Not so bad. I mean, it's still like, you know, by comparison to like most real world jobs, still pretty terrible, most likely. But as residency goes, it's nothing. If you were a derm resident, you would rub it in at every chance, as you should, because there's nothing that anybody else can do about it. And you made the right choice, and presumably worked super hard to get into that position in the first place, so, you know, maybe a little gloating is in order. That's okay. What about Path? Path is a very underrated profession, in my opinion. It is very chill. It's very important. Like, don't underestimate the importance of getting a good, like, you know, what do you call it? Like pathologic diagnosis out of a sample, you know, out of a biopsy or something. Like you're really making a big difference in people's lives. Like if you can turn that around accurately, quickly, like you're a super valuable resource. I think they make decent money. I actually don't know what Path's pay is. Let's look it up. No, we're not gonna look at my tax returns, you motherfucker. Oh, you know what? It's in my Discord. I mean, it's totally not in my Discord because it's copyright protected. It's totally not in here. Where the hell is it? Resources. There we go. I know I pinned it. There it is. Are there any other chill residencies? I mean, not really. Residency is just a total shit show. There are none that are reliably, so I'd say you can get some that are like radiology, family practice, some of the like lower key specialties in general, like will have, you know, in the bell curve of intensity, you could find one on the lower end for sure, but where the hell did that pop up? Open, bitch. There we go. Pathology. Where you at? Psychologist? No. Is it forensic pathology? Is that called something else? Or am I looking at the wrong shit? I'm looking at things that are not physician salaries. That's the problem. Pathology. Here we go. Anatomic and clinical. Yeah, so you make, you know, 350 to 4, probably. Do pathologists have to come in contact with patients? No, they don't. That's great. That's one of the things that I definitely enjoy the most about my thing is I have no clinic. Don't have to fuck with any of that. There's no follow-up unless, you know, you just feel like it. Yeah, I definitely do not want to have my own patients. Zero interest in that. Zombies are not prominent in nicer areas. True. True. Yeah, 350 to 400 and don't have to talk. Hell yeah. Oh, that's good. Wow, that's not a bad set of armor. The job market is iffy. It certainly was when I was graduating. I don't know how it is now. I think it has improved, actually. But that's one of those things that, like, people don't really retire from because it is kind of low impact. They had to do 2 fellowships to get a job? Fuck. That's a lot of extra time. But yeah, again, I get the impression that that is softened. But I don't know that for a fact, though. There's probably a lot of opportunity for, like, remote work as well. Though I don't know, I guess you do sort of have to, like, man the microscope. Ooh. Spicy. But yeah, you could probably get those, like, those samples sent to you, right? Boop, 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 boop. Trash. 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 And trash. Cool. That's fun. That's solid. Best teachers are always pathologists, really? I don't think I never had a pathology rotation. And I don't remember, I don't remember, like, which, you know, preclinical stuff was taught by pathologists. I mean, everybody that I've talked to, like, all the pathologists I've ever interacted with, they seem to really enjoy their jobs. They don't seem to be, like, stressed out people. which I cannot say the same about basically any other specialty, including anesthesia. Wow, that guy is going ham. Holy shit. He ate his freaking speed this morning. Dear God. In med school. Oh, Prime sub to me? Hell yeah, that'd be great. I love taking Amazon's money. Thanks for the props, man. Oh yeah, by the way, did I ask you how your job was? I can't remember. I meant to. I said that in my mind if I didn't say it aloud. Hopefully the first week's treating you well. Do I keep up with research? Yeah, absolutely. We get all of the, you know, I guess it's sort of like pop anesthesia, if there is such a thing. But yeah, we get all of the like publications, you know, the like ASA newsletter and the various, you know, societies within anesthesia and all the like new shit coming out. So yeah, we do keep up with it that way. And you have to do a fair amount of, well, my goodness. Thank you for the sub, Gucci. I appreciate that, dude. Local expert on tariffs? Okay. That's not what I expected you to say, but cool. As long as you found your thing. But yeah, glad you enjoyed it. That's awesome. Oh, completed the training on tariffs. Okay. Okay. I feel like tech is one of those things where, like, carving your own, like, your specialty, like, your expertise really makes a huge difference in your employability and your desirability. That's the impression I get. Like, if you can just do, like, one thing fucking awesome and way better than everybody else, like, all of the people who need that thing are just gonna be, like, salivating to hire you. Maybe I'm wrong, because I've never had a tech job, but that's what it sounds like from talking to people who are in the field. So that's cool. It's cool that you the man, you're the tariff man. Fair assessment. Cool. Yeah, I mean, like, my job is so much different than that. I just have no idea what the fuck other people do, basically. I'm just like, yeah, I did anesthesia residency, and everybody who wants an anesthesiologist is like, cool, okay. So you presumably know what you're doing. Do you want a job? Like, you know, no questions asked, no like weird, you know, probing and like crazy interview shit where you have to, you know, jump through hoops that they set out for you that are just like random nonsense. I kind of did some of that, like, I guess around last year this time. When I was thinking about doing consulting, like, I applied to some of those jobs. Like, this is just absolute nonsense, all this crap that they put you through. Like, do you want a physician working for you or not? What's the problem here? Oh, I didn't go in there. I was wondering why I didn't get the completion. Well, that's cool. I hope I hope everything continues to go nice and smoothly for you. There we are. Missed the other arena. Forgot this is a twofer. Shrieker Eye Hall. Piss off. There you go. Courthouse. Right, let's sell some shit. Sell that. Sell that. Boop. 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 Ooh, perfect roll. Nice. Yeah, this is nowhere near as good as it used to be. Corlitos used to be basically essential for poison builds, and now it's like kind of trash, honestly. probably just sell it. Fuck it. I feel like that'll be worth a couple chaos with some life on it. That is literally the lowest roll you can get, I think. But that's cool. Alright, that was worth it. I love this price check tool, so nice. So nice. Strike chance, multi. What's that worth? Yep, that's good. That is good. Alright, you can go up for 40, I guess? I'd rather sell it than not. Put that up for 10 and see if anybody wants it. Actually, you know what? I'll put it up for 20. Can always lower it down. I do need the income, though. I'm poor as shit. Oh. Come on, dude. There. Alright. Maps that I need to run. Anything there? No. No. Trying to get all the, like, low-tier shit out of the way, which I've mostly done, it seems like. Oh, you know what I need to do before I forget again? Change to that. Alright, well, they seem to want me to run the city square. So I guess I will do that. Reduce damage for crits? Bummer, dude. Oh, is that mirrored? I guess they were just duplicated. Yeah, whatever. We'll do it. See how it goes. Yeah, so you missed, those of you who showed up late missed me talking about how I got, lots of neck blood sprayed on me today. Like, a lot. When I say lots, I mean it, like, totally covered my arm and shoulder, and both my hands were, like, totally drenched. Because a dude, long story short, is coughed when he was waking up and like blasted open his surgical site. So that was not great. Oh wow, I died very fast. Cool. And that's why I'm glad I don't play hardcore. Just start talking about somebody exploding neck blood on you, and next thing you know, you are fucked. Okay. Oh. Oh my. Did he aspirate? No, he didn't. It was a external incision. It was like right here. Yeah, and he woke up. He woke up and goes, "That was a lovely nap." Like, yeah. Yeah. That's, well, yeah, lovely. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. This is extra fire? Sure. What did he have? He had a submandibular gland removed. I'm not sure why. I think he had a mass in it. I can't remember. But yeah, that was an interesting experience. I have never seen anything like that from a wound. Like, I've definitely seen, you know, people have like large blood vessels get cut open and spray shit everywhere, but never a wound. And not on me. It's very rare to shower your anesthesiologist in blood. But today was my day, I guess. What are black box medications? I have no idea what a black box medication. Are you talking about like black box warnings? Those are just things that you should like, they're just like universal precautions, basically. Diff card with jewelry. Div cards for unique weapon, huh? Eldritch minions gain armor? Yeah, I don't really give a shit about that because I don't do any physical damage. Let's activate this. How was that possible? So he basically, like, coughed. And, he was, like, straining really hard and coughed. And just the increased pressure in his head blew up the blood vessels that were closed and, like, you know, sutured. Ooh, 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 class pants shit. Like black box warnings. Yeah, so I mean, there's lots of them. I don't know. Like that's not really, in my opinion, that's sort of a really scary term that people throw around, but really it's like, so the gas that we use for most surgeries to keep people asleep, for instance, has a black box warning that says you should run it with at least 2 liters of fresh gas flow, that being air or oxygen, because there is a described risk in rats of renal failure at low flows. So, does that mean anything? No, not really. It means that maybe you'll have a little bit rougher of a time defending yourself if you get sued and go to court, and you have not run, you know, low flows or high flows. But there's no evidence in humans. Like succinylcholine, for instance, has a black box warning that you don't want to use it in children because they have an increased risk of bradycardia or a you know, potential for malignant hyperthermia from it, as we discussed earlier. But if you need a really fast-acting paralytic that goes away quickly, and you don't think that there's any reason, you know, that person would have malignant hyperthermia, then you sucks. That's really it. I mean, black box warnings are just things that you should, like, always consider. You know, and it's like an established enough guideline that, you know, it should be considered in every situation, basically. Fluoroquinolones have the black box warning for tendon rupture, yeah. Yeah, for sure. But everybody still, like, if you need a fluoroquinolone, you take it. It's all risk versus benefit, right? Everything in medicine is risk-benefit analysis. Because, like, clearly, you know, cutting somebody open is not benign. Like, you literally cut a person apart and take shit out of them. That's not a like, something that you should do lightly. But, you know, if the thing that you take out is killing them, then the choice is clear, right? You don't really have to think about that very much. Maybe there should be a black box warning on scalpels. It says may cause pain. We'll have to discuss that in M&M all the time. Should we really have used this scalpel to do this surgery? We'll have some, like, nurse bean counter trying to convince us that we fucked up somehow. Energy shield, yeah, that's not so bad, actually. Yeah, the fluoroquinolone tendon rupture thing is, that's kind of scary. I actually know somebody who most likely had that happen, like had a tendon rupture as a result. But I mean, it's sort of tough to tell, right? Like, you know, maybe you just had a normal injury and happened to have had a fluoroquinolone. So, I don't know. Oh yeah, nothing's dying because they don't take extra damage from my from my critical strikes. That's right. I did this to myself, as per usual. Per the usual. Made a questionable decision and now I'm paying for it. Alright. It's GTFO. There we go. Alright, well, I think I probably ought to call it there, because I gotta go clean myself off, because I'm gross. And then get up early in the morning. Thank you guys for joining me. It's good to see all of you. I will be back Sunday, most likely. Need to do a rotation. Oh, VA. Always got time to talk about the VA. Nephrologist was complaining that without telling anyone, they hired a nurse management. Oh, to lead the dialysis center with no dialysis experience? That's fucking terrible. What an awful idea. That does sound like something the VA would do, though. It also sounds like something pretty much any hospital administration would do. They just, like, hire somebody randomly and expect them to get, like, trained on the job with no input from the hires. Oh, bummer. Well, yeah, you guys have a good one. Take it easy. Those of you who are new, please join Discord. It would be great to see you there and hang out. This is Discord. Boom. Follow that link. Have a great night, everybody. Take it easy. Thanks again for joining. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace.